welcome back to Choice Bits of Bliss. Here we are. It's International Scrapbook Day weekend, and we are celebrating in the Crafty Low and No Spend Facebook group with playing with our scraps. The theme of our projects is play, make, and share. We are playing with our products. We're making several projects, and we're making projects that are shareable. We want to share them with someone else. It doesn't even have to be in the scrapbooking community. You can share with a friend, a neighbor, a relative. It doesn't matter. But when you share your handmade projects with someone that you love, it lifts their spirits. And that's kind of the goal. We want to take our scraps. There's not a big commitment because they're scraps. So we're not spending tons and tons of money. And we're going to make projects that we can share with other people to lift them up. Help them have a brighter day. It's win-win all the way around. We get to play, we use up some of our scraps, and we get to lift somebody else's spirits. I like that kind of project. So, I'm making a card holder folio from a file folder. And I asked my husband, I said, do you have any extra file folders? Because I had this kind of project in mind and I couldn't, let me back up. If I dug enough in the boxes that I have not unpacked, I could find my file folders. I didn't want to do it, so I asked my husband, do you have any file folders? And he did. God bless him. He has some extra file folders, but they are bright. So we're going to cover it up. Don't worry about it. They're going to be covered up. So I've already started, and we're going to take, now these file folders all have the tab at the top. And that's okay, because we're not going to use the tab for this project. But these file folders also have 4 pre-score marks, and I hope these are showing up. There's 4 score marks at the, and then one of them is at the fold. But we are going to use the center score to make our folio, because it gives us just a little bit of room to put the cards in our pockets. Yes, we're going to have pockets. So the easiest thing for me to do is to put this in my trimmer and cut it at 8 inches. So we'll cut 8 inches. Let me move all of this stuff to the side, and we're going to get started on creating the base of our folio. So we're going to measure. You know what? It's going to be easier if we do it this way. We're going to put it at 8 inches. Now, something that I've learned I have to do with my creative memories, to get a straight cut, I have to straighten this out so that it's flush with this edge, and then move my project so that it's bumping here but not bumping against this arm, because this arm wants to come down. And I don't, if I use this and trust it, I'm not going to get a straight cut. So I bump it up against this one because this never changes, and then I lift this end once I've got my measurement. And then I'm going to cut this portion off. So this is what it looks like. Now we're going to cut again. We're going to remove the remainder portion. And since we're going to be using this middle score, I'm going to go ahead and bend so that I'm at that score point. And then I'm going to do the very next one, so that I have these used up where I want them. Now, once I've got it open, we're going to have that at 7. So we're going to move that to 7. And I'm just going to show you again. We have a spine here because I've used 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines. I'm using 2 and 3 to make my spine. We're going to open it. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to move that to 7. We're going to make sure that's bumped up against there, and cut. Okay, so now we have our little folio. I like rounded corners, so I'm going to round my corners. And that little Creative Memories corner rounder will cut through 2 layers of file folder cardstock. So now we have our base. We're going to take our scraps and we're going to start measuring to find out what we need. So this front we cut to 7. We're just going to make sure that that's what we want. Yes, so we want 7, and we've got a 7 by 8. And this gives us plenty of room to work with. So now I'm looking through my scraps to find something that I can use as my base, because we're going to cover this, we're going to cover this, we're going to cover the insides, and we're going to have pockets as well. Okay, so now we just need to cut 7 by 8. To cover our front. But before we do that, I just neglected to tell you about the back side. So what we're going to do on the back side is we're going to make it larger. So we're going to go 8 inches by 8 inches, so that this portion is going to go over in here. This page is going to cover over it, so that we then have our spine covered as well. And we're going to have to score the 1/4 inch marks in our spine so that it will bend with this one. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to cut my scraps and then I'll come right back. Okay, so I've cut my 8 by 8 and I've measured where I need to, so we're going to use my mat here as part of my measuring system. Flush that up against there. We're going to flush this up to the 0, and we're going to measure where we need to do these score marks that's on the 2 and the 3 that's already in the folder. So this looks like it's at 7 and, so that's the half mark, 7 5/8 and 7 3/8 is what it looks like to me. Let me find something to line up to make sure I'm looking at this correctly. So this score is here. So that would be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that doesn't make sense. There'll be 16ths. Okay, that will be 7 6/16 and 7 2/16. So 7 1/8 and 7 3/8 is what that's going to be. So now we're going to score, and mine does not have all those little tick marks. My scoreboard doesn't. So let's see if we can transfer this. Okay, on my score, it's going to be the first tick mark after the 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 1/8 and 3/8. And I don't know if y'all know this about me or not. Math is not my strong suit. Fractions definitely are not my strong suit. But here we are. We're mathing and fractioning. All right. Now I've made my spine. So we can move this to the side. And this is going to fit right over this spine. And we'll close with it. See? Perfect, perfect. All right. Let's talk about adhesive. This is a gift that's not meant to last forever. We're not going to use our most expensive adhesive on this. So you can use a wet adhesive. You can use a glue stick. The only thing that I'm going to be particular about is my spine, and I'm going to use tape on the spine. But the rest of it I will probably do with glue stick or a wet adhesive. All right, I'm going to get this adhered and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm using a scrapbook.com clear double-sided adhesive roll. It's 1/4 of an inch. I have 1/8 inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. And I got this on as a package deal during one of their sales. And I just wanted to show you that how I'm using it. I'm just putting that down in the spine. I'm making sure that it is completely covered end to end. And I'm going to tear it right there at the end. It's very easy to use. I love that. So now I'm going to get my bone folder. I'm just going to take the end of it and just kind of burnish that down so that it has got a good strong hold in that. And then I'm going to use my fingernail. Some people use other products, but I'm going to use my fingernail and pull that up. We're not going for perfection. We're just not. What we want is for the spine to be covered. So I'm going to get my spine situated and just make sure that this spine is lined up with the file folder spine. And then we're going to just kind of press it in. The rest of this is going to be adhered with a glue stick. I'm going to press that down. And truth be told, I may not have enough glue stick to do this entire project. That's okay. I'll then move on to a wet adhesive. And when I say wet adhesive, that's just a fancy term for saying I might be using Elmer's glue. We want the coverage to be at the edges, for sure, at the edges. And in the middle, it doesn't have to be bonded. And I'm just making sure that it comes down and meets. Now, you can see I have a little bit of blue showing there. It is okay, because we're going to keep decorating this. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to say that 100 times. We're not looking for perfection, because in scrapbooking, crafting, there's plenty of decorating to be done that we can clean up anything that doesn't look absolutely amazing. We're going to clean it up. All right, we're going to cover the back, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and it's time for us to cover the back side. Now, I've added a little bit of a scrap up here at the top and rounded the corner just to hide that little bit of blue that was showing. Clearly, this is not 100% straight. That doesn't surprise me, because this came from my hands, and things are not always perfect when they come from me. So this one, we're going to cut just a little bit bigger than the 7x8. I'm sorry. Yes, 7x8. So that I can trim off to match this piece instead of being 100% perfect on the measurements. So this needs to be 7, and we're going to say 7 1/8 by 8. We're going to go over on the 8 too, so we're going to do 8 1/8. Now, y'all, this is Christmas paper. It's old, but it's okay. And an 8 1/8. And let's see if that little bit of compensation will make the difference. If it doesn't, it's okay. We can hide it. Just like I hid it up here. It's okay. So we're going to come here. And then I'm going to just trim off the excess. So I'm going to adhere the back side, and we're going to be ready to start decorating the inside. Okay, I'm back. I just thought I would show you the liquid adhesive that I'm using. I'm using Liquitex Matte Gel. I'm using a 20, whatever that means, because I'm not a painter. I picked this one because it has a wide edge and it's flat. So that's what I'm going to put my adhesive on with, and we're not painting. We're just doing a light layer of adhesive. I'm doing it on the base because I'm just going to stick the paper to it, and I'm going to then trim off the excess. And I don't want this paper having glue on it, because then I'll be, you know, trimming off a glued edge. I want it to be on this. And I'm just lightly putting the glue on. I'm not trying to do like a thick coverage. I want a thin coverage because I want this to dry before Methuselah. Don't know where that came from, but there we are. Now, working with a wet adhesive, I don't enjoy this because it starts buckling paper, and that's just part of the process. It's not my favorite. I prefer using dry adhesives, but this is what we're using today because I don't want to put a lot of money into this project. I am trying to get to the edges. Okay. I'm just going to lay this on it and cover the edges. This is part of what I do like about a wet adhesive, is it's a little more forgiving. If it's not a fast drying, you can move it around. So now, as you can see here, I have these parts that need to be trimmed. All right, I'm going to trim these. Then we're going to come back and start working on the inside. All right, we've got the back covered. It's drying, and we can still work with the inside even though the back is drying. So first, we need to take in the fact that we have got this wide expanse. We're working with, at the most, a 12-inch length paper, and obviously this is longer. So to compensate for that, we're going to do our spine first. The sides, I've got little smoochies. So the spine is 3/4 of an inch. And to make sure that we have room to lap onto, we're going to give ourselves 1.5 inches, and then we're going to score it so that it, once again, works with the natural fold. So that's what we're going to work on. So first, let's find a scrap that we're going to cut to 1.5 inches. And I like this. I like how this looks. So we're going to cut that to 1.5 inches. And it also needs to be, because the height of this is 8 inches, we need to cut it down to 8 inches. And I'm going to cut this white portion off. So we measured 8. Remember, I'm lifting here so that I can get a straight cut. That little scrap can be something else. So we're going to lay that here in the spine. We're going to do our score portion, and then we're going to make, I will also, let me just slow down. I'm going to use this adhesive again in the spine so that it has 100% adhesion. We want that to have a strong bond. Okay, let me do my scoring, and then we're going to figure this out. So it looks like 1/2 inch on each side, and then we're going to score 1/4 inch. So we're going to come in 1/2 inch, score, skip over 1/4 inch, and score. And that is not 1000% perfect math. The only thing that's good about it is that I have my 1/4 inch. This side is bigger. It's okay. I should have done my center ruler. Okay, so this is single-sided paper. We want the white side down, but we want that to be laid perfectly in there. All right, we're going to put our double-sided adhesive in. And then tear. Going to burnish, peel up, and stick. I'm just making sure that that's lined up in the fold. And then we're just going to fold it all together now. So we've got 3 layers in our spine. So we're just going to roll it and fold both sides so that our spine is set. See, there's our spine. Now we're going to adhere the rest of this. And I'm sorry if you can hear my air conditioner kicking on and off. It gets really hot up here on the 3rd floor. So even though it's April and I'm in the north, it's hot up here. And I have had to turn it on. My husband and I have just come back from hiking over the weekend. We were really excited about this trip because it's been a little bit since we've hiked together. And, well, we've gotten out of shape. And we've gained weight. Both of us have. So we were going to just pick an easy hike for us to break back into our hiking lifestyle. And my husband was reading, you know, he's Canadian. He was reading everything in kilometers. And then he was trying to figure out how many miles it was so that I would understand the distance. And he was telling me that this hike was really easy. It was flat. It was rated as easy on the website. And I said, sure, let's do it. And it wasn't that far from the cabin that we stayed at. Holy moly. After 8 hours and dragging our numb bodies back to the cabin, we did not move on Sunday. We hiked Saturday. We didn't move Sunday. We just were nursing sore feet. We were so sore. I couldn't believe how sore we both were. This is not wanting to stick here on the bottom, so we're just going to add just a little bit more adhesive there. Make sure that sticks. All right, now we're going to start layering. We're going to put this side around the corners. We're going to overlap onto this. So we need 7 1/8 by 8 1/8 again, because this is not perfect. Priscilla made it. It's not perfect, but it's going to look super cute when we're done. So I'm going to layer. I'm picking from scraps. I'll be right back. As you can see, I have chosen my scraps. This one is already cut to cover that side. And I'm going to use these two to cover this side. So since I'm having to layer like this, I'm going to go ahead and make a pocket just from these two. So I'm going to layer this one at the top. This one's going to be layered down here at the bottom. And then we're going to use a circle punch to make a pocket, a thumb hole, something. I'm not sure what those are called. It's a notch. We're going to notch it with a circle punch to make so that you can tell that this is a pocket. Okay, I'm going to get all of this cut and adhered, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what happens when you think after you've already done something. So I started making my pocket, and I thought, dadgummit, I didn't make an allowance for the flaps. Because when you make a pocket, you want it to be able to have room to tuck things in. So I had to make an allowance. And to do that, I'm going to add strips to either side here and here to match the spine. So it's going to look something like this. Then we're going to put the pocket down. Still cute, still going to work. To put my pocket down, I'm using the 1/8 of an inch tape instead of the 1/4. And I'm just going to put it on these 3 sides that I scored at 1/4 of an inch. I'm trying to find my starting point. My roller thingy's coming out of the middle. Okay, let's zip these down real quick. Well, that's just going to come out. That's all there is to it. Let's see if we can make it work. So we don't have to be super precious with this because 1/8 of an inch is a lot smaller than the 1/4, and it's going to fit just fine. It's literally falling apart in my hands. That's always fun. And this is a little trick I learned from May Made It. She is an Alabama girl, and I love that about her. There's 3 YouTubers that are Alabama girls who have quite a bit of followers that I watch. May Made It, Melina Pilot, and Scrapbooking with Me. I watch those 3 channels. Now May Made It, she does a variety of crafts. Melina is the daughter of Scrapbooking with Me, and they pretty much do junk journaling. And I love watching them. Love what they create. Okay. We're going to just burnish each one of those strips just to give it that strong adhesion. Now, this is something I learned from May. If you'll fold in these 2 first and tape this in the corner of that one, then when you're tucking things in your pocket, it won't snag on the edge. So I'm going to trust what May tells me. And we're going to pick those up and put that down on it. There we go. Now that's adhered. Finish stripping these up. And then we're going to put our pocket down. After, of course, we adhere this strip to the side. I've gotten a little ahead of myself, which is not a surprise at all. No one is surprised about this. I do my best work after the fact. Now I want this to come all the way down to the bottom. We're hiding this blue. Now I used my circle punch right there to make this notch, and then move that off. We'll go back and I will round those 2 corners. Now let's see if we can do this one without messing it up. We're going to adhere this one down like that. Our spine is still intact. And then put this on this side. It's going to look really, really cute. Okay, I'll be back. My goodness. Clearly, I'm a dingus. I made this whole video, and I was recording when I wasn't supposed to be recording, and I had stopped recording when I should have been recording. So I'm going to show you the completed project and show you how this works. This is how I finished out the cover. I used a page of scraps of die cut. No, cut aparts. I used a page of cut aparts that was scraps, and on the inside I used just some more of those cut aparts to decorate with. I didn't do anything on the back side, but I just wanted to show you that if we're going to pretend that these cards have been made and they're decorated, just going to show you how they can just tuck inside. And this is just a cute little gift to give someone who likes to send cards. And you can tuck a book of stamps inside of there, and it just is a sweet little gift. That is the entire project. This was made from a file folder. It is called a file folder folio, and that is our project. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here with us for International Scrapbook Day. Remember, you can do these projects anytime you want to. There is no rush. Go off and enjoy other challenges from other groups, crops that you can attend in person. Have a great time. And then when you're ready, come back and play with these projects with your scraps. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great scrappy weekend. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.